Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 237. Before we get into this week's chapter, as always, if you haven't already, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. I'd like to try and hit at least 100 likes on this week's review. Now then, with that out of the way, let's get right down to business. So, I'm sure you guys have noticed. Ooh, there's no reaction this week, which is shocking given what is in this chapter. Well, I did the reaction, I recorded it, and the translation that I read turned out to be not very good. A lot of their translations were too direct, and as such, didn't really grasp the context of what was being talked about. They bungled the explanations for various things, which led to me being kind of confused. Ultimately, the reaction would have just made me look kind of stupid. So, you know, didn't decide to post most of it. However, I think my reaction to the first bit of the chapter is, you know, totally fine, because there's not really anything being explained here. So, you know, here it is, right here. He leapt 203 meters above the ground, further ascending above Kashimo. A figure appears on the enormous block of ice. Is Urayume gonna try to cock-block Kashimo? Also, is it snow? If it started snowing because of Urayume, Itehoshi Urayume, is that their actual full name? And then, oh, oh wait, no, this is going totally different. Oh shit. Hakari left above Urayume from above? I made a promise. I regret to say I can't let you leave like that. You don't know everything. Curse technique, ice formation. Domain expansion. Here we go. Oh, so now that the big 1v1's over, are we gonna have multiple 1v1s? Is Hakari gonna take on Urayume by himself? I don't know. Urayume's stocks went big up after the whole Friesen Maki thing. So, I don't know, Hakari. Yeah, so first thing first with this chapter, we get a surprise matchup. Urayume enters the scene, which I'm not sure anyone expected. I didn't hear any kind of predictions about that, but it makes sense. Sukuna knows everyone's going to be jumping him. Urayume knows everyone's going to be jumping Sukuna after his fight with Gojo. And you know, Urayume gotta show up for their guy. So they enter the scene to fend off anyone that's going to show up to fight Sukuna. In part. Not really. There's kind of a more direct purpose for Sukuna in their appearance. But someone appears from the sky even higher than Urayume, who is falling down from a glacier over 200 meters up in the air. It's Hakari! How did Hakari get up there? Good question. I don't think he jumped, but he also just kind of fell out of the sky into his fight with Kashimo, so who knows? Who knows? He doesn't look like he's getting his infinite cursed energy boost yet. However, he does pop his domain expansion to trap Urayume, so probably going to be getting that soon. I know we're waiting on his 777 jackpot, so who knows whatever that will be. Maybe it'll just increase his output, because if it just makes his curse energy quantity infinite, his output isn't necessarily infinite. I sure get the thought of whatever infinite output would look like. I don't even want that sounds like you would be able to do anything, really. But I don't know. Special moves tend to be a little more complicated than that, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, this Hakari Urayume fight, I don't think was something anyone expected. Mostly because Urayume is definitely the weakest of the remaining villain trio, so it would have been kind of safe to assume that they're going to be the opponent for all of our weaker remaining cast members to team up against. But instead, we just got one of the heavy hitters going after Urayume. I'm not sure if Hakari can beat Urayume by himself. That's what makes it interesting. That's what honestly makes it, like, the most interesting part of the chapter. Because everything else is just stuff we've been expecting. Not bad. But, you know, kind of what we thought was going to happen, for the most part. Getting to that stuff we expected to happen, Urayume was here to deliver a care package for Sukuna. As the glacier melts and you have it exploding and raining down on top of him and Kashimo, which looks really cool, they were here to deliver Yorozu's gift, which is indeed one of his old weapons, the curse tool Kamutoke. Now, the bad translation that I read first said that it was created from 10,000 binding vows, which sounds hype, but then you try and think about what the hell are the logistics of that? What does that even mean? No, this is just Yorozu's thing. What is its special property? It summons lightning. I need to take a look at mythical Sukuna's arsenal again, but I'm pretty sure this is fairly in line with, you know, one of his abilities. He's got like a bunch of elemental powers and weapons. So now we just have to wonder where the spear is. Seems like Yorozu's recreated one of Sukuna's old weapons, so I have to wonder what happened to the original ones. Were they destroyed? Are they locked up in a vault somewhere? I do wonder. So what is Kamutoke's effect? It summons lightning. That just seems to be what it does. We're not given any indication as to other abilities it may have. It's just his lightning summoning stick. But, you know, Kashimo's the electricity man. He barely gets scratched by that attack, which kind of surprises Sukuna. And this is where we get into an interesting interaction in which he asks Sukuna, did you become the strongest, or were you just born as the strongest? Which is something we've been wondering. Was he born cracked like Gojo, or did he do a bunch of stuff to become as powerful as he is? It would be more interesting if it's the latter, because then, you know, that is a good sign for our protagonists, that this level of power is attainable somehow. Probably by means most of them wouldn't resort to, but still means that exist. But Sukuna says he doesn't know, because he was some forsaken child, presumably cast out. And this is the first insight we've ever been given into Sukuna's origins. It's not much. It's just one reference to being a cast out child. Cursed, unwanted little wretch. But something. It's more than what we had before. So I imagine we're going to be learning more about it in the near future. Because, well, you know, we're at the end of the fucking series. So it's not like there's going to be a ton more time to do that. And we are basically in the Sukuna arc right now. You know, the Inhuman Makio Showdown, this arc, which is, I don't think anyone should really consider Culling Game anymore, even if the Culling Games aren't over. This is the Sukuna arc. So we're going to be learning more about him here. But in response to what Sukuna says, Kashimo talks about himself and basically just starts describing the plight of the strongest. How can you connect with others? How can you love those beneath you while knowing nothing of weakness? That's something I never understood. I was always surrounded by those as feeble as the dirt beneath my feet. So yeah, Kashimo was the strongest of his era. And, you know, no one could challenge him. He was totally alone at the peak. I saw someone on Twitter point out that Kashimo would have been around sort of near the same time as that fight between the Limitless Six Eyes user and the Ten Shadows user who killed each other. So I have to wonder, was the time he was around just different? You know, it wasn't actually the Edo period, it was whatever the other one Gojo mentioned was. Or did they die before he got a chance to go fight them? Which made him watching this fight really interesting, because it was pretty much him getting insight into a fight that he never got a chance to see when he was originally alive, which is pretty cool. And then he asks Sukuna, pretty much, is strength solitude? Or is the endless search for greater power a cross the strong must bear alone? This was one of the few things that I actually like more in the translation I first read, because he asks if this loneliness is simply a curse of being the strongest. If that is the curse of being the strongest. Because anytime you call anything a curse in this series, it carries a lot of weight. Because normally is, in some way, shape, or form, an actual thing. So I think that's cool. It also adds in kind of another element into the whole give and take aspect of, you know, everything in Jujutsu. Even being the strongest has its trade-off, and that is the solitude that it brings. And Sukuna remarks on how this is pretty much the same thing Gojo was thinking, even if Gojo didn't just straight up ask him about it. But given that these guys have had pretty much the same experiences, Kashimo, once again, is the only person that can have this sort of connection with Sukuna. Now that Gojo's gone, he's the only one that can do it. And he says, yeah, I'll give you your answer. I'll teach you. Give me your best shot. And he's so happy. He's so excited. He's smiling. He rushes in. They get into a short little melee with their weapons. And then it's time for the curse technique release. Mythic Beast Amber. He punches Sukuna faster than Sukuna can dodge or anything. So, you know, that's already a pretty solid feat for Kashimo. If you can tap Sukuna, if you can hit him in his, you know, near complete state, effectively 20 fingers. Jogo couldn't even touch 15 fingers Sukuna. You go big ups. I mean, I already had you above Jogo, but you know, you're socking Sukuna in the face. And then his face transforms into this weird cannon, which, when he stops using it to shoot things, kind of looks like a Mortal Kombat ninja mask. And he hits Sukuna with some sort of blast, an air blast, or perhaps a thunder wave. As we get the explanation of Kashimo's technique. He pretty much turns into cursed energy. He turns into his electric cursed energy, and he can perform any phenomena that can be created by electricity. Now, you wonderful people in the chat, any of you big nerds who may be electricians, or just know a lot about what can be done with electricity, electromagnetic waves, all that kind of stuff, oh, be sure to tell me, because anything you describe is something Kashimo can do. The possibilities of being able to do pretty much anything that a fundamental force in the universe is able to do, oh, that's good. It's not just the Super Saiyan thing. He does get his physical boosts from increasing the activity of his brainwave's electrical signals. He gets that kind of stuff. But it's all the other stuff. All the other stuff, all of the big attacks he'll be able to do. Optimizing and tuning waves to match the natural frequencies of materials, which would, you know, presumably be able to let him cut through almost anything. Vaporizing irradiated objects using electromagnetic waves. Now, I saw something that implies this relates to a faster-than-light thing that he can maybe be able to do. God only knows. The fight has just started, and thus far, Kashimo's just punching Sukuna. And he's kind of just punching him in his blind spot, because he hasn't healed his eye yet, because he can't really heal himself that well right now. But, you know, we're gonna get a good showcasing of his abilities here. And, you know, it's confirmed, once his technique ends, his body's gonna crumble away, which is what I expected. I expected his technique to just be so powerful that his body will disintegrate from using it. And that's what's going to happen. So we got a little bit of a timer here to see what Kashimo can do. His full capabilities. How high can you go? Can you hit top 3, Kashimo? I think you can maybe manage it. You're not going to be stronger than Gojo. That's for goddamn sure. But can you hit top 3? We're going to find out. Because he hits Sukuna with his sure hit Lightning Blast. Because, you know, he hit him. And that put enough of the charged particles on Sukuna that his cursed energy will just hit him. And nothing can stop that. So there's a big explosion. And then we get an explanation for something else. Sukuna can't use reverse curse technique anymore. He's just too drained. But there is another thing he can use to restore his body. Because if you recall, the shape of the body is dependent on the shape of the soul, and most attacks don't affect the shape of the soul. As long as you maintain the shape of the soul, you can maintain the shape of the body. There have been a few times thus far that people have asked Sukuna, why haven't you turned back into your original form? Because I guess that's just a thing he can do if he wants. And he just went, I don't feel like it. It's more comfortable to fight sorcerers this way. But if he did resume his transformation, which has already begun based on the appearance of the tattoos and the extra eyes, and he kind of summoned it up a little bit when he took that big chomp and bit off Hana's arm. That was kind of like a partial transformation where he got his big monster head. What if he just let the transformation resume? And so his body will return back to its original state. Well, he does that. So after all of our waiting, Sukuna's original true form returns. All 4 arms, all 4 eyes, and, you know, presumably most of his capabilities, because if he's returning back to his true form, that means he's gone back to his brain's true form, which means his brain is healed, so he can use his domain again. I don't know how much his cursed energy levels will be affected, so I don't know how well he'll be able to heal himself. The one good thing is that he probably still can't use Maharaga. That was ultimately going to be one of the big things Gojo contributes, is just Maharaga's taken out of the picture. And also, you know, I don't know how Megumi's technique in general will interact with Sukuna taking on this form. Because, you know, anytime we've seen someone take over another person's body and use their techniques, they still maintained the form of that person's body. Kenjaku's still inside Geto's body, Sukuna was still inside Megumi's body, as Megumi's body. Now it's just Sukuna's body, which also raises the question of how are we supposed to save Megumi anymore? Is it even possible to save Megumi anymore? Yuji alluded to an idea he had for it when he was talking to Yuta before the big fight started. I don't know what that idea would be now. Are you just gonna yoink Sukuna out of Megumi's body, just pull his soul out? Will Megumi go back to himself if that happens? Can you even undo a transformation that is such an extreme warping of the human body as to, you know, add a second pair of limbs to it and a big mouth on the belly? Can you even do that? Now, once again, Sukuna can probably do his domain again. He might be able to use reverse curse technique, but he probably won't still have Maharaga, because I don't think him adapting, or him reverting to his original form would bring Maharaga back. I don't think that's how that would work. But now, those weaknesses that were inflicted upon Sukuna don't exist anymore. This is what holding back means. I'm not sure exactly how much reverting to his original form would increase his power, which is probably why Sukuna didn't use it. This is another example of, you know, not showing all my cards isn't exactly the same thing as holding back. This was, maybe this is the trump card. You know, oh shit, I can't beat Gojo and all of these people at the same time. I'm getting worn down too much. I should revert back to my original form so I get my domain back. That's probably what it was. That may be the thing that he would use if the other people interfered in his fight. And this is what he's using to continue the fight. This is how he's going to survive the gauntlet, is he just reverts back to his original form. Again, who knows how much that will boost the power of his techniques, if at all, but presumably this will bring back his domain for him. Now, some people were saying, just a few, oh man, oh boy, Kashimo sure is going to show off against a weakened Sukuna. Very impressive for you to have a fight against a 30% power Sukuna. Well, you got your fucking wish. Now he's fighting Sukuna, who's pretty much an original top form. Not top form with 10 shadows. We're going to see how Kashimo stacks up to original Heian era Sukuna, who is the one that he originally thought he was going to fight. That was the one he agreed to fight with Kenjaku, so, you know, he's going to get his wish. How well can he stack up against this original Sukuna? Well, probably about as well as we would expect anyway. Probably about as well. This fight's definitely going to be way shorter than the Gojo fight. I expect them to fight for 2, maybe 3 chapters. And then Kashimo explodes. He crumbles away into dust. And then we have other people show up to fight Sukuna. This really is just going to be, how many people do we have to throw at Sukuna until he dies? And then Kenjaku goes, yippee, it's time for the final boss fight. Speaking of Kenjaku, maybe he wants to take over Gojo's body. Having the protagonists need to fight against the original power ceiling, who is also their teacher, who wanted them to surpass him, would be neat. However, it also seems like Gojo's body got crushed by the rubble and the, well, yeah, mostly just the rubble from the big glacier exploding. We don't see his body there again, so who knows? But I would not be shocked if Kenjaku, after centuries of being thwarted by the Six Eyes, finally took over the Six Eyes. Would certainly make having a fight after this Sukuna fight more imposing, and would give an opportunity for Kenjaku to be stronger than Sukuna, finally, because they would presumably decide to keep Cursed Spirit Manipulation, maybe, you know, toss out Kaori's anti-gravity technique. Who knows what else they have in their arsenal, but I imagine they can only keep so many techniques after a certain point. They'd probably discard one of the weaker ones to gain infinity and keep Cursed Spirit Manipulation, if that's the case. But does seem like a possibility, and really one of the only ways that you can continue to do even a slight escalation of threat after Sukuna. You know, unless the villains just win and everyone dies. That seems like a fairly plausible outcome at this rate. But we're just going to have to wait and find out what happens. Because with that, that's all I got for this week's review. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week that we get a new chapter. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.